Hello, my wonderful, wonderful people, and welcome back. As you can tell, probably, my time in Japan is over. So now we're going to do a little recap and a little, well, the typical, did I like it, didn't I like it? You know the drill. First things first, when it came to Japan, I had to change my plans. So I never really made any big plans. I only knew I wanted to travel a bit more in Japan and to see a bit more, and that I wanted to go from the north down to the south. And when I looked up flights, I realized that when I would fly from Taiwan to Japan, the only thing I could do was fly to Hokkaido instead of like way up north on the main island, because there was no flights there. So I would have had to fly to Tokyo or anywhere else in Japan to go there anyway. So I decided, okay, if that's the case, then let's just include Hokkaido. And let's be honest, I was really lucky that I had to do that. Because I loved Hokkaido, I loved Sapporo, I loved all my trips I did there. So yeah, I was really, really happy doing that. Also, for the whole trip, at first I thought I would do the typical Japan trip, which meant to go from city to city. So stay in a city for 2 to 3 days and then move to the next. But because Japan was my 6th country, I think, I was really tired of traveling a lot. And because I have a lot of luggage, especially a lot of like technic stuff, I decided to not do that, because that would have meant that I would have to pack everything up every 2 to 3 days and move to the next city. That is possible, and I think that might be interesting if you are not like me and you're not like losing a whole day whenever you're traveling. So if you are energetic and you can do like I'm landing, I'm putting my stuff anywhere I can, and I'm going out and I'm using each and every single day, then do that. I am too old for that, or just too tired. You can decide which one you think I am. Probably too tired. I'm probably not too old. I'm probably just too tired for doing that. So yeah. So instead of doing a lot of cities and each city a few days, I did my typical, I pick one city, I stay there for a longer period of time, and this will be my base of operations, and I will travel from there. So I started this whole thing in Sapporo on Hokkaido. It was a little bit less warm than I was used to from Taiwan, but Hokkaido was beautiful. There was a lot of nature. The cities, as the only like really big city I've seen was Sapporo, and Sapporo didn't feel like overwhelmingly big, and still there was a lot of green, there were a lot of parks. You could go shopping if you wanted to, so it had everything you needed. It even had a Pokemon center, so, but I think Hokkaido seems to be more a place for people who want to see nature and less for people who want to see like the weeby things. So keep that in mind. But I can really say I loved staying in Sapporo. I loved traveling around in Hokkaido. I loved doing my trips to Noboribetsu and to the bird sanctuary and also to the tiny little ocean town. So yeah, the first big part of the Japan trip was a real success. Next was, of course, Tokyo. So I got to Tokyo via Shinkansen, which took 8 hours. A lot of fun. That's something, I mean, when I say normally people do like the city hopping thing, because a lot of times you don't go like completely from Sapporo to Tokyo. Most of the times you pick a few cities in between and do a day there and a day there. So, but the trains are comfortable, they're fast, you don't really have to worry a lot while on them, so I was totally fine. Still, it was an 8-hour long train ride. Well, it was 2 train rides, both of them are like around 4 hours, so yeah. So next up was my time in Tokyo. The first time I was in Tokyo, because this was my second time, I didn't know anything about the city. Nothing. I knew that it was in Japan, of course, like I knew the tiny things, but I didn't know like the typical things you know when you watch anime or when you're into manga or anything like that. I didn't know anything. So I was walking around, I was enjoying the city. It was interesting, it was a big city. I've not been to a lot of big cities before. I've been to London and I don't know if there's anything else, but yeah. But this time I knew a tiny bit more, so I kind of knew where to go, what to see, what would be interesting for other people to see. It's not like I totally don't like the things. I like walking there and having a short look at it, but I don't need to spend a lot of time there. So yeah. And also, for me, doing all of these videos and doing like photos and things like that, these places are really hard for me to work at because I don't like filming strangers. I don't like taking pictures with strangers on them. I try to like do as little as possible when it comes to things like that. And if you're at a place like the big Shibuya crosswalk, of course there's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people, and there will be people standing in front of you suddenly and taking pictures themselves, so you can't really not take pictures of people, and people know that. So it's not a big deal. It's not like going to a park and taking pictures and there's like strangers in it. It is known that these are places where there will be people filming, there will be vloggers, there will be like photographers, there will be street photographers, anything like that. So they know. But still, that's something that is a bit icky for me. So I couldn't quite enjoy those places as much as I probably should have. It still was a lot of fun exploring, and it still was a lot of fun walking around Tokyo, especially because a lot of the times you have this big famous place, big, they all felt way smaller than I thought they would, but you have this famous place where there's a lot of people, and then you walk for like not even 10 minutes and suddenly you have the streets almost to yourself. So it's easy to like not be totally overwhelmed, because it's not like you're walking through Akihabara and there's like hours and hours and hours of people. No, Akihabara itself is like, seems to be a tiny place. It's just a few streets, and if you just take 2 or 3 streets further and walk there, then there's no one there, so you're good. And that still fascinates me, because you find all of these people in certain areas like clustered, because they are interesting, don't get me wrong, but still you go like 3 streets further down and suddenly there's no one. But you also suddenly see beautiful old buildings, interesting architecture, tiny shrines in between big skyscrapers. So yeah. My biggest tip for Tokyo probably would be go to whatever place you want to visit. If you want to have it for yourself, like for example shrines or anything, go early, then there might be not as many people, and take the side streets. See what you can find when you don't follow like the roads that everyone is taking. And if you want to do like the shopping things or anything like that, a lot of times if you do it before 12, it's not as packed. We're not talking about the weekend. Just close yourself in at the weekend. But when we're talking like during the day, if you do anything before 12, you might be a little bit luckier. So there might be a little less people. If you don't like people, if you don't mind people, go whenever. You're good. After Tokyo, I took another train, another Shinkansen, to Kyoto, which was way faster. But, and this is a tiny little tip, which you probably already know, which you probably will see like hundreds of times when you book your train ticket to Tokyo or from Tokyo to Kyoto or anything else. With that Shinkansen, you have to make a special booking if you have big luggage, because they no longer have the typical luggage areas that you can find in other trains. You have to make a specific booking to get the seats that either have the space behind you or in front of you. So just to make sure you know that. It was no problem for us. So we booked the seats, and we booked like the place behind the seats, and I think it didn't cost that much extra, but yeah. And if you can't use the machines, which is totally understandable, I really was not able to use them when I booked my ticket to to the airport, because that one was a bit weird, that machine. You can always go to the information or to the ticket service. You can go to the ticket services that are specifically for tourists. Those might give you some extra tips or tricks. For example, in my case, going from Kyoto to Kansai Airport, they told me that I should not book like a normal train ticket, but that I could use the one-day Kansai JR pass, which was cheaper. So, good thinking. I would have just bought the normal JR pass or the normal ticket to go to the airport, but the JR pass for one day in the Kansai area was cheaper. Also, when I went from Tokyo to Kyoto, I had a friend with me who is at the time, right now, in Japan and living there. And because we wanted to get off at different places, we couldn't make that work on the machine. So we couldn't make it work that we sat next to each other and were like on the same train, but got off at different places. So we simply went to the ticket service. In this case, it was easy because she speaks Japanese, so she was able to talk to the ticket person and to tell them what we wanted, and they were able to do it for us like with no problem. But a lot of times you can do it anyways as a tourist. Just go there. It's because what you want is really simple. Most of the times you want to go from here to there at that time, so you're good. Kyoto as a city was probably closer to my heart than Tokyo. Tokyo is extremely interesting for me to take pictures and to walk around and to just feel, but the living part felt a bit off. I didn't feel as at home as I did in other places, and Kyoto was way nicer. But let's be honest, my place in Kyoto was bigger. It was not just one room, and yeah, I think that helped a lot. And Kyoto itself is more historical buildings than Tokyo. And I love just walking around, seeing all of these old buildings and taking pictures of them. In Tokyo, it's a little bit like you have to be lucky to find a street or to find them in between. You find a lot of them, but not as many as in Kyoto. Kyoto is, of course, a little bit older than Tokyo. Kyoto once was the central city in Japan, which I learned when I went to the museum. I also learned that that the name Kyoto is just simple like main city, and Tokyo simply means second main city. So the names are really impressive. But I shouldn't say anything. I'm really bad with naming things, if you remember any of the D&D sessions I did. So let's not talk about that. But yeah, Kyoto is a lot of fun if you want to see old things, if you want to see temples, shrines. So it has more of these. It is a big city, and you have a lot of things you can explore that are new, but it also has a lot of history, and that feels very, very cool and very great. For my trips from Kyoto, I did the Kansai through pass and not the JR pass. It was cheaper, and I didn't think I was to be honest, I was just fed up with traveling a lot. So I thought, okay, let's just do the Kansai through pass, do 3 days, do these 3 days whenever I want. Not like the JR passes where you have to do it like consecutively. And for me, that was good. But I probably have not seen as many interesting things in the Kansai area as I have seen in Hokkaido or even in the Tokyo wider area. So if you're thinking about doing it the way I did, so staying at a place for a longer time and then just doing a little bit of traveling, just read up on it. In the Kansai area, you have a lot of different kinds of JR passes you could buy. You could buy like a really, really big one where you can also go to Hiroshima. You can buy smaller ones. You can buy 1 day ones, 2 day. You get the gist. You just have to decide what you want to see and what you don't want to see. So I guess the lights have changed a little bit because the camera went hot. So I had to take a break and now I'm back. But I don't think there's that much more to say. At least I hope I don't forget anything. For the overall Japan trip. Yes, I did not do everything you typically do in a Japan trip, which was, for example, I did not go to any big amusement parks. That's simply because I am traveling by myself. And going to an amusement park like Disney World, Disneyland, Universal Studios, whatever you can think of by yourself is not that much fun. I wouldn't mind if like the entrance fee is not a lot, then I might have done it, but we all know all of these parks are expensive. So I decided against it. Especially, it's not like the problem is not riding the roller coaster by yourself. Don't worry about that. I don't need to have someone sitting next to me. I know. But sometimes you have to wait in line for quite some time, and doing that on your own is boring. So yeah, if you're traveling with friends or anyone else who likes amusement parks, who likes roller coasters, have a look at those. So yeah, because those can be a lot of fun. I've been to Disneyland in Paris 3 times at least, so I know that they are fun, but you know, you can't do everything. And this trip was more about nature, historical places, and a little bit of urban exploring, as much as I could do. So overall, I really enjoyed my time in Japan. I loved exploring the nature, I loved exploring the architecture, I loved the urban exploring and things people tend to talk about or dream about. And yeah, that was a lot of fun. And I think there's still a lot of things I would like to see and visit in Japan. So I don't think this will be my last time going there, similar to the other places I have been. But let's be honest, Japan is one of the more expensive places, especially if you want to do like a little bit of shopping, a little bit of shopping here, a little bit of shopping there, or just buy a few tiny things. It is more expensive than the other places I have been to. So you always should keep that in mind. So yeah, that's it for me. That's everything I wanted to talk to you about my time in Japan. As I said, I enjoyed it. I would go back. So big thumbs up from me. And yeah, now I'm here in Seoul, back home. And yeah, I'm going to take a few days off, even though I'm doing this in these off days, but this is something different than walking around filming. And I will see you next week, probably, again. So until then, don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe if you haven't yet. And stay healthy until the next vlog. And with that, I'm going to tell you bye.